If we put history's most legendary warriors into the same Colosseum, who would survive? A Viking, ninja, gladiator, Spartan, samurai, Roman Legionary, pirate, Mongol, and a medieval knight. No rules, no alliances, no mercy. No way out until only one man is left standing. So, who walks out of this chaos alive? Let's find out together. With the heavy, echoing sound of a massive bronze bell bouncing off the giant, gloomy stone walls of the Colosseum, huge iron locks clang open, and the arena instantly turns into absolute bedlam. 9 legendary warriors step inside at the exact same second. There is an insanely unsettling, high-voltage tension in the air. In those first few seconds, every single warrior scans the area out of the corner of his eye, trying to figure out who will strike from where, and where the first blow will come from. The clashing of steel, the violent banging of shields, the rattle of chainmail, and the high-pitched tone of swords sliding out of their sheaths fill the entire space. In those initial moments, total uncontrolled chaos reigns. Everyone dodges in all directions to avoid randomly swinging swords, suddenly flying spears, and blind attacks aimed at who knows where. A cloud of dust rises within seconds, and while it is not yet clear who will fight whom, the strategies built in their minds are tested from the very first step. Our pirate decides to sneak into a corner and wait for an opportunity, turning this mess, dust cloud, and wild panic directly to his advantage. The first victim he sets his eyes on is the ninja, who is preparing to move quietly like smoke just a short distance away. The pirate quickly draws his heavy 18th century flintlock pistol from his belt and locks it straight onto the ninja's chest. He has the incredibly confident, cocky smirk on his face. He thinks he will eliminate his rival with a single pull of the trigger, believing he found the easiest way out. But the biggest technical disaster of 18th century flintlock pistols in war history was their outrageously low range and terrible accuracy. Round bullets coming out of those smooth barrels without rifling could veer wildly off target the moment they were fired, especially with the effect of the wind. The pirate pulls the trigger with complete confidence. With the massive explosion echoing from the barrel, a thick cloud of gunpowder smoke covers the area, but the flying steel bullet passes 2 meters to the left of the ninja, hits the stone wall of the Colosseum, sparks, rebounds, and drops into the sand. The pirate is utterly stunned, uttering curses that nobody can understand as he frantically pulls out the powder flask from his belt as if throwing it. He tries to reload the gun with that insanely slow loading mechanism, which was the absolute nightmare of that era. He pours the powder into the muzzle, pulls out the ramrod, tries to pack it down, and struggles to seat the bullet. But his time has already run out. Within split seconds, the ninja hurls a black smoke bomb right at the pirate's feet. The bomb hits the ground and explodes, wrapping the surroundings in a pitch-black smoke cloud where you cannot see a thing. As the pirate wipes his eyes and coughs, trying to make out what will emerge from the smoke, the ninja darts out from behind like a shadow. Landing rapid, heavy body strikes one after another, the ninja completely breaks the pirate's balance. While the pirate stands bewildered with the powder flask in his hand, not knowing what to do, the ninja pulls out star-shaped shuriken from his belt and throws them. Sharp steel shuriken slams straight into the pirate's face. Before the pirate can even close the cap of his powder flask, he crashes face first onto the sand, becoming the very first name to say goodbye to the arena. At the exact moment the pirate is brought down, on the complete opposite corner of the arena, the Mongol horseman is wrestling with a massive strategic crisis. Mongols were people who brought whole empires to their knees with their unbelievable mobility on horseback and their ability to shoot arrows while riding at a full gallop across open steppes and unlimited spaces. However, a tight, enclosed arena surrounded by high stone walls with obstacles on the ground instantly resets every single combat advantage the Mongol has. The horse he is riding rears up in total terror from the echoing steel sounds, exploding gunpowder noise, and chaos inside the Colosseum. The Mongol warrior pulls on the reins with all his might to keep the animal under control, squeezing the horse with his legs, but the animal completely loses its composure. The Spartan, the most disciplined soldier of the ancient world, spots this massive helplessness in a second. With his thick bronze breastplate, the giant bronze-plated shield in his hand, and his 3-meter-long dory spear, the Spartan advances toward the Mongol, planting his feet firmly into the dirt. As the Mongol tries to maintain his balance on the horse, he barely draws his bow and shoots an arrow. But because the horse is moving wildly, the shot strays horribly, and the arrow slides right off the Spartan's shield. The Spartan does not break his composure at all, approaching like a wall of steel, and thrusts his spear forward. With a hard, ruthless spear strike powered by his full body weight, he knocks the Mongol right off his horse and slams him violently against the stone wall behind. The Mongol warrior slides down the wall, lying motionless in the sand, failing to escape elimination. The ninja, who finished off the pirate, glides out of the smoke like a shadow, sets his sights on the samurai this time, and starts running toward him. But there is a very critical historical and military fact here that should not be overlooked. Ninjas were never trained for open field, daytime, one-on-one frontal combat. The entire point of a ninja is setting ambushes, taking advantage of nighttime darkness, infiltrating, and carrying out assassinations. In an open area like this, in broad daylight, and with nothing but light fabrics on them, they are at an absolute disadvantage. As the ninja runs, he pulls out the remaining shuriken from his belt and quickly hurls them at the samurai. But the samurai's traditional armor consists of layered steel plates, hardened leather, and silk cords. This armor provides incredible protection against light weapons like these. The shuriken bounce right off the samurai's chest plate with a clatter and drop into the sand, doing 0 damage to the man. The samurai, on the other hand, is a master who has dedicated his life to one-on-one sword duels, possessing top-tier discipline and focus. As the ninja draws his sword and tries to approach, the samurai does not even blink. He draws his katana from its sheath with that legendary quick-draw technique on his belt. Executed as a single, incredibly fast and precise line, this strike slashes open the unarmored ninja's chest from one side to the other. Before the ninja even realizes what happened, he collapses to the ground and is eliminated. In the very center of the arena, a completely different battle rages on. The Gladiator goes head-to-head with the Viking berserker. Gladiators are professional fighters who have swallowed the dust of the Roman arena, specifically trained to fight one-on-one in front of thousands of people, prolong the fight, and deliver a visual spectacle to the audience. The Gladiator displays great arena tactics against the Viking with his trident spear and net. He nimbly sidesteps the wild, uncontrolled axe swings of the Viking, throws his net to entangle the Viking's legs, and manages to bring the giant man to the ground. The Gladiator immediately strikes, driving his spear deep into the Viking's shoulder. As the Viking roars in pain, the Gladiator thinks the situation is entirely under his control. Absolutely certain that he won the match, instead of finishing off his opponent, the Gladiator turns his back, opens his arms toward the stands, and starts showing off. He shouts, raises his spear in the air, and expects applause from imaginary spectators. But there is a massive and deadly detail he failed to consider. Viking berserkers were literal human beasts who put themselves into a trance with special herbs and rituals before battle, completely turning off all pain sensations in their bodies. Despite the deep spear wound in his shoulder, the Viking tears the net on the ground apart with steel-like strength and rises to his feet. With bloodshot eyes, completely ignoring the wound on his shoulder, he grips his massive axe with both hands. The Gladiator, still looking for support from the crowd and posing, notices the giant shadow coming from behind way too late. The Viking catches the Gladiator completely off guard, leaps onto him, and brings his axe down with such fury that the Gladiator's show costs him severely. The Gladiator drops onto the arena sand instantly, getting eliminated. Even though things seem to settle down for a second, the fights continue at full speed. This time, the Roman Legionnaire and the Spartan take center stage. Two giant military disciplines from different eras face off. The 3-meter-long spears of the Spartans are fantastic in open fields while in a phalanx formation. But in close quarters one-on-one combat, those spears are quite clunky. Roman legionnaires, on the other hand, were trained with the Gladiator short sword and the massive rectangular scutum shield, designed specifically to break spear walls like this, slip inside, and engage in close combat. The Spartan thrusts his spear hard toward the legionnaire's chest. The legionnaire crouches completely behind his massive shield to absorb this heavy blow. The spear gets stuck, sinking into the wood and leather cover of the shield. Without wasting a single second, the legionnaire pushes the spear aside with his shield, completely closing the distance between him and the Spartan. The Spartan cannot find the space to pull back his long spear and strike again. The legionnaire slams the steel boss of his shield hard into the Spartan's face, breaking his balance, and then thrusts his short sword, the gladius, from under the shield right into the exposed side flank of the Spartan's armor. The Spartan loses his footing and drops to his knees, and the legionnaire finishes him off with a second strike. Following this victory, as the legionnaire tries to catch his breath, he notices heavy footsteps coming from behind. Our Viking berserker has set his eyes on the legionnaire who just defeated the Spartan. The Viking tries his sneaky style again, attempting to eliminate the legionnaire in a single blow from behind with his giant axe. However, Roman legionnaires are no ordinary soldiers. Thanks to years of disciplined legion training, their situational awareness is off the charts. The moment the legionnaire feels the wind and the footstep behind him, he turns around instantly. He blocks the massive downward axe strike of the Viking with his scutum shield. The sheer force of the impact cracks the wood of the shield and leaves the legionnaire's arm totally numb, but the shield does its job, and the legionnaire stays on his feet. As the Viking tries to pull his axe back, the legionnaire shoves his shield forward, striking the Viking hard in the chest. The Viking stumbles backward. The legionnaire wastes no time taking advantage of close combat. Ducking right under the Viking's second wild axe swing, he drives his short sword into the unarmored abdominal area of the Viking. Although the Viking tries to back away in pain, the legionnaire gives chase and brings the Viking down with a second sword strike. The ferocious Viking fails to escape elimination as well. As the legionnaire wipes his bloody gladius on the sand and tries to regain his composure, he turns around, feeling a massive weight at his back. You could say only 3 warriors remain in the arena now, but one has not yet shown his true power and strategy. While the Roman legionnaire is completely out of breath from the weight of his armor and the heavy clashes he went through, he sees the medieval knight standing before him like a tower of steel. The knight preserved his energy and composure in his corner from the very beginning, watching his rivals brutally tear each other apart. He is wearing full plate armor, forged from head to toe in steel, considered the absolute pinnacle of 14th and 15th century European military engineering. Contrary to popular belief, this armor is not a heavy mass that makes a person immobile or clumsy. Its weight is perfectly distributed across joint points and the body, making it a walking fortress that provides unbelievable protection. The legionnaire, taking exhausted yet experienced steps, holds his shield out front, prepares his short sword, and moves toward the knight. The knight, on the other hand, stands his ground, waiting with unwavering determination. The legionnaire closes the distance and tries to land quick strikes on the knight's joint gaps like the elbows and armpits with his gladius. However, the short sword bounces right off the hard steel plate, sending sparks flying and leaving nothing more than a superficial scratch on the armor. The knight does not step back a single inch from this attack. The knight swings his massive two-handed longsword with a wide arc. The mass, length, and rotational momentum of the sword are so high that it splits the legionnaire's wood and leather-covered shield straight down the middle with a loud crash. With his shield shattered, the legionnaire suddenly stands completely defenseless. The knight loses no time, slamming the heavy steel pommel of his sword hard into the legionnaire's helmet. Stunned by this direct strike, the legionnaire stands dazed, not knowing what hit him. The knight then drives the sharp tip of his sword right into the weak spot beneath the legionnaire's chest protection, eliminating the Roman legionnaire with a single final decisive strike. And then comes that monumental historic moment. Only two men remain on the blood-soaked, dust-covered sand floor of the arena. The samurai, with his legendary Eastern swordsmanship and speed, and the medieval knight, the unbreakable steel fortress of the West. The atmosphere in the stands reaches an absolute boiling point. Both great warriors approach each other with extremely slow, careful, and respectful steps. The samurai grips his katana with both hands, his sharp eyes locked onto the tiny visor slot of the knight's helmet. The knight holds his longsword forward, standing in a solid guard. Time literally stops during this historical clash between the greatest warriors of two legendary cultures. The fight explodes all at once. The samurai leaps forward with unbelievable agility. The katana flashes through the air like lightning, whistling loudly. The samurai lands lightning fast, combo strikes one after another on the knight's armor gaps, such as the shoulders, elbows, back of the knees, and neck. The sound of metal slamming into metal echoes off all the stone walls of the Colosseum. However, the chainmail and thick padded layers beneath the knight's plates completely absorb and deflect the curved slashing attacks of the katana. The katana is a perfect sword for cutting unarmored or lightly armored opponents, but slicing through thick steel plate armor completely defies the laws of physics. Even though the samurai's sword sparks every time it hits, it simply cannot pierce the protection of the armor. After tanking these storm-like fast attacks from the samurai with the sheer strength of his armor, the knight starts swinging his own heavy sword with devastating strikes. The knight's sword is a much heavier, longer, and vastly more forceful weapon. The samurai tries to block these heavy, crushing attacks with his katana, but every time he blocks, the steel of the katana vibrates, the samurai's arms shake, and he is forced to stumble backward. One sword strike from the knight slams into the samurai's katana with such violence that the steel of the katana is pushed to its absolute limits. Utilizing his speed and flexibility to the max, the samurai constantly circles around the knight, trying to wear him out inside that heavy, boiling steel armor and leave him breathless. Indeed, heavy wheezing can be heard from inside the knight's helmet, his movements slowing down by a fraction. The steel baking under the sun tests the knight's endurance to its absolute limit. Seeing this tiny window of opportunity, the samurai leaps forward with one final deadly strike. He drives his katana forward with all his strength to thrust it straight through the eye slot of the knight's helmet visor. The sharp tip of his sword grazes the knight's cheek, leaving a deep cut and inflicting a painful wound on his face. The knight roars in pain, but he does not take a single step back. As the samurai tries to pull his thrust sword back and make a second strike, the knight grabs the samurai's katana right by the blade with his free left hand. Since the knight is wearing armored steel gauntlets, the sharp blade of the katana cannot cut his hand. No matter how hard the samurai pulls to free his sword, he cannot escape the knight's steel grip and finds himself trapped. The knight swings his heavy longsword in his right hand with all his strength, bringing it down on the samurai's exposed neck area. With this crushing, heavy blow, the samurai collapses onto the sand instantly. The knight drops the bloody katana from his left hand into the sand and lifts up the visor of his helmet. His face is covered in blood, sweat, and dirt, his chest heaving heavily as he breathes slowly. His entire body is wounded, exhausted, and battered. But he is the only man still standing in this apocalyptic arena. As he stands right in the middle of the arena, he proudly raises his heavy longsword toward the sky. Shining under the scorching rays of the sun in his steel armor, the medieval knight becomes the undisputed sole champion of this legendary battle royale. Standing against physics, steel, and heavy engineering was simply impossible. If you enjoyed the video, you can click on the playlist on screen to check out similar videos. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write in the comments which warriors you want to see in the next Colosseum. See you next time.